Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. First of all, if you're new here and you like following book reviews, you like getting reading inspiration on what to read next, then feel free to stick around. I post new book reviews almost every single day. Now let's talk about today's book. Today I am going to be reviewing volume 20 in the series Kaguya-sama Love is War. This is what volume 20 looks like, and in watching a review of volume 20, I'm going to assume that you don't mind if I discuss things that happened previous in the series, so that is your warning. For those of you who need a refresher of the series thus far, we are following Shirogane and Shinomiya, who are the student council president and vice president at an elite academy. Early in the series, they developed feelings for one another, but both are proud people who don't want to be the first to confess, so they wind up devising a number of games and strategies to try to prevent the other person to try to force the other person to confess their love to them. Well, they don't have to confess. This was a grand, dramatic, over-the-top production for the first couple volumes of the series, but eventually things started to get more intense. The stakes became higher. Shirogane, the main male character, the love interest for Shinomiya, decided that he would like to study abroad in the United States when he goes to college, and knowing that his high school career has an end, has a clock that's ticking down, he decides he's going to make a move, and basically Shinomiya and Shirogane wind up dating. Kaguya Shinomiya, the female protagonist, who is now dating Shirogane, comes from a very, very wealthy family. Shirogane, the male protagonist, is the scholarship student. He doesn't come from a wealthy family. He comes from a family with just his dad and his sister who are making their best. His dad has come into a little bit of success recently with his whole YouTube channel, but they're not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. Kaguya Shinomiya comes from a very strict family and a very wealthy family, and she's expected to follow family tradition and kind of continue the family business, although she's not going to be an heir as she is a girl. She kind of has a lot more restrictions. She has a lot more money. She seems to have a lot more privilege, but all of that comes in kind of a golden cage where she's not really allowed to do everything that she wants. Something that she thinks is going to cause a lot of problems, and therefore she is keeping under wraps, is her relationship. She doesn't want anyone to know because she thinks that her family would try to separate her or disapprove of her relationship and cause problems. So they're dating, but now we are kind of moving into this end game of high school. There's a lot of transition, there's a lot of change, and volume 20 feels like a transition volume. It feels like a volume that hints at a lot of change happening in this volume or previous volumes, or change that's upcoming for all of these characters. These characters are now going to be entering their third year of high school. They are rapidly approaching the end of high school, especially Shirogane, who is going to be leaving for the United States. As far as my understanding goes, the Japanese school calendar doesn't align with the one in the United States. Here in the United States, we enter school in May, and then in September we advance to the next grade. So when I graduated high school in May, in September I went to college. That's not quite how the Japanese calendar lines up. So Shirogane is going to have to leave partway through his third year in order to start college in the United States. And that transition means that he has an even shorter amount of time left in high school. Now, in this series, as I mentioned, or in this volume, as I mentioned, there's a lot of transition. Maki, who is a girl who is in Kaguya's extended family, but not the main family branch, which is apparently a very important thing for Japanese families, or at least business conglomerate families, I should say, is kind of coming to a new relationship with Kaguya. These two individuals hated each other or were very distrustful of each other due to their outside family influences, but they're starting to learn that they can be friends with each other because their relationship with one another shouldn't be colored by their family's relationship. Just because the Shinomiya family and the Shijo family, which is the one Maki's from, have problems with each other and have been fighting and feuding for many years doesn't mean that they need to hate each other on principle of what their parents have told them. Hayasaka, who was, I hope I'm saying that name correctly, who was Kaguya's personal assistant, recently left the family. She no longer felt like she wanted to be a spy, betraying Kaguya's personal confidence to turn over to the head family for information. And she's trying to reinvent herself and her relationship with Kaguya and also with the rest of the group. She's now open. She's not secretive about what she's doing or who she works for, because she doesn't work for anyone anymore. And she's kind of transitioning to this role of a supportive friend instead of this master-servant relationship, which kind of had a power dynamic before. The third years are going to be leaving, including Ueshigami's love interest, and there's a lot of change and development around these characters. Ueshigami has become a lot more serious. The third years are obviously moving on. We know a couple third years, and that's a whole point of transition. Ending high school is a big transition in anyone's life, no matter which country or which schedule you are on. It kind of marks a transition into the next phase, so that is a huge deal, and Ueshigami is going to be losing the person that he is interested in is going to be graduating, and he would like to get some resolution about her feelings towards him on the commencement day. Miyuki has kind of had a big shift in that he used to be so focused on being number one in his class, mostly because he wanted to be a step ahead of Kaguya, because he kind of felt inferior due to Kaguya's family relation and money. Now, at this point, he's more focused on going to the United States. He's focusing on studying English so that he can make it easier when he's in the United States. English is definitely a requirement to go to school in the United States, or go to college in the United States. So he's working on that, and he doesn't actually get number one in his class, but he's not stressed about it. He doesn't feel as though he needs to earn or be number one. He's kind of let the pressure off on himself, and he was quite intense with his studying earlier in the series. And I think all of these changes together kind of hints that there's going to be a lot of changes coming up, and there's going to be a lot of movement in the plot in the next volume. There was just a lot of transition and change in this volume to kind of indicate that people are growing older, changes are going to occur, and choices are going to have to be made. I personally am really interested in seeing this college thing play out. I really want to see if Kaguya can also go to school in the United States, and I'm just curious to see how all of that goes. We really are getting to the very end of the high school scene, especially with Shirogane leaving early, so I'm just interested in seeing how that plays out in future volumes. Overall, I enjoyed volume 20. I think it's setting up interesting things for volume 21, and I'm excited to read volume 21. If you've read the series up to volume 20 or have any thoughts or comments on this entry in the series, please let me know. I love to receive your comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.